What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, Henrik the Wreck?
You know me, Chris. I'm good as always, but it's the day before Halloween, so even better.
Yes, I know, man. This has been a fantastic spooky season. And you still trick or treat? That's something that my mother killed for me. Like, man, I feel like that was like 7th grade. She's like, no more. Totally spoiled the whole fun for me. I have never dressed up ever since. But then again, I did see you dress up for Halloween, Henrik.
I did dress up. I didn't go trick or treating, but I did dress up. Yes.
Oh, so you're getting tricked, not treated.
Exactly.
We always like to start off the show with a bang and show you guys a lot of viral content that is circulating all across the globe. So let's get it. Not everyone's feeling the love for the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 new movement and gunplay. Just ask streaming legend Flight, who discovered the hard way that sometimes it's not the opponents you're fighting, but the controls you're wrestling.
This man reloaded for 30 years. Oh my gosh! I could have had my first kill right there. Oh my gosh, bro. Get the out of here, bro! Yee! This it's just spraying and praying.
I think this is a classic case of it's just a skill issue, Chris.
Oh, I was waiting for you to say that because I know it's a lot of young cats that have been playing this game and they seem to be having no problem, adjusting to this. Maybe it's because we're so used to the old school ways that, this omnidirectional is really throwing ourselves off. I think as we get older, maybe it's sometimes kind of hard. You know how like sometimes your eyes start to kind of get spaced out a little bit, it seems like, when you're playing like long hours of video games. Well, with omnidirectional, I feel like it only ramps it up because everybody's jumping around like crazy. It's the Matrix
I would
out
say
there.
It's also just maybe he's not built for the game in the first place. I mean, I don't really, so far in the time I've played the game, I haven't really messed around with the movement too much, but I'm still keeping up with people.
Okay,
I'm playing it kind of like the older Call of Duties, and I'm doing all right.
I see what's good, but we also got comments around this that says, bro, camera quality been the same since 2K16. So, yeah, I mean, this guy's been playing video games for a while, so you'd think that he would at least be aight.
Yeah, you would think so, but some people it just doesn't click, I guess.
Actually has to be the worst gameplay I've ever seen. So some people are just like, they're agreeing with you. They're just like, it's a total skill issue. And at least we know he not using aimbot. Yeah, that's been kind of something that a lot of people, we've even discussed, prior, that couldn't even believe that the beta testing wasn't even open yet. And people were able to access this game through like a PS4, or like jailbreak console. And then they're getting in there and they're just ruining the entire experience for everybody else that's trying to enjoy Black Ops 6, and trust me, we will be talking about the success of that video game later on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. But let's go ahead and talk about something else, Henrik, because this is quite the viral moment. Cash Nasty's baby mama saw his NBA 2K My Team spending spree and practically started budgeting for an intervention. Does she have a point, or is this just the price for virtual hoops glory?
What's that number for?
That's how much money I spent so far.
Are you fucking kidding me? Let me see. But you'll be asking how much it is to get my hair done? Are you fucking kidding me? And you still ass, ain't you? Still trash, ain't you? Have you won any games?
Nah.
You spent that much money on a game? You was complaining about $30 2 days ago. $30 fucking dollars! Oh my God, let me take a picture of this. I'm gonna tell your mama.
I'm gonna tell your mama.
Yeah, he's gonna get cooked by his mom too now.
I mean, who do you fear the most? Would it be the wife, the future girl, and the future girlfriend becoming wife, or is it the mumsy?
It might be the mom. You don't want to disappoint your mom.
Yeah, that's true, because you can always find a new girl. Like, I could tell, like, looking at Cash Nasty, he was, like, contemplating whether this is the right woman for him or not. But then again, I am totally with her. I would be flabbergasted, too. I've said it numerous occasions. It's like, why the hell would anybody be spending money on cosmetic skins in Fortnite, let alone 2K packs that, again, don't carry over into the new year, the newly edition of that sports game. So it's beyond me. But why is she acting like it's her money? have we forgotten everything about financial literacy? I mean, how do you live to be a prosperous gaming couple if you're spending your money on nonsense like this, Henrik?
You gotta, be smart about it, because at the end of the day, it's going to end up being both of yours money at some point.
It's not the end of the world to be doing it like every once in a while, but like if this is like an ongoing pattern, like clearly we don't know how much money he did spend, but you could tell by the reaction, the voice of his girlfriend. Like,
it was a lot.
It was a lot, to really set her off. Still trash, ain't you? Have you won any games? Would have made me crash,
those
not gonna
lines.
lie.
Those lines got him good.
Ladies out there, or actually we don't question whatever sex, whatever kind of relationship that you were in. All the gamers, you are all welcome here at Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. But if you're with your significant other, just know the number one way to hurt that person the most is by telling them their ass at the video game they love. That is horrible. I mean, it's true. That would be the lowest low. I don't know if I could ever recover from that. And last, he was realizing she ain't the one.
Just like you said.
So, I mean, you got to figure it out. It's better to figure it out now than later on in the relationship.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm actually kind of glad to see that like VR is starting to pick up a little bit. And thanks to Batman Arkham Shadow VR, gamers are having a blast with this brand new game. They are basically turning Gotham's rescue into comedy gold as they fumble through high stakes heroics and accidentally bonk henchmen in slow motion.
But I signed up for this Batman thing. I didn't know there was going to be a test.
I placed an officer undercover. Where?
Gordon! My Pookie! Don't worry, I'll get him. I'll stop those bad guys. Listen, this is gonna be you in a couple minutes. All right, you should probably walk away. I told you this was gonna happen. People rely on me. Swear to me. I'm fucking Batman.
What's Batman's number one rule? He doesn't kill. I don't know if you'd want to live after the injuries you'd sustain in that video.
Yeah. I like how he just like taps on Commissioner Gordon's nose. He's like, Pookie. Yeah. I love it some more. So it really looks like the Batman Arkham series that we all love, that we wish that they would return to, unlike, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. So that's a bit promising. But let's go ahead and check out the comments around this viral clip. I'm Batman Rick. Yeah, he does kind of sound like Rick and Morty in that whole clip. I was kind of wondering if that was the actual voiceover artist or not. Because if not, man, holy moly, you got something, that not everybody has. The scariest welcome to Gotham, young man, I have ever heard.
100%. You don't want to hear it in that voice.
Yeah, I know.
Just unhinged.
He's like, excuse boy. So yes, I mean, that was definitely not Batman. That was Bat Rick, after all, with that viral clip. But you know what? We got such a jam-packed show for everybody that's tuning in to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. And we can't thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. because without your guys' support, this show would not be possible. So if you haven't, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Take a moment to scan the QR code and hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show.
Yeah, and go ahead and scan that QR code you see on the screen as well. You go to my YouTube channel and go ahead and join the conversation. We're talking about games, memes, a little bit of technical stuff. So come on in and you're always welcome to join.
Yes, and I know this is Halloween Eve, so we are going to ramp up the spooky season with this next segment. Yeah. So I think it's time to rock and roll, Henrik. Are you ready?
Yeah, it's time. It's time for pause or repeat.
That's right. Let's get it.
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Fear the Spotlight. This game is a part of Blumhouse Games' initiative to break into the gaming industry. As they are publishing the game, you can imagine that it is in fact a horror game. Perfect timing for the spooky season, but let's take a look at the game starting with the gameplay and find out how it turned out. The gameplay of Fear the Spotlight falls in the genre of survival horror while delivering it in a PS1 style aesthetic. The retro style the game embraces adds to the unnerving atmosphere that the game builds throughout, tapping into the nostalgia at the same time. Most of the game, you will be tasked with finding items to open up new ways to get more items or open up a pathway forward. Many of the puzzles will involve you directly interacting with the environment, and when you do, the game will shift to a first-person perspective. In this perspective, you are given a cursor to move around and interact with the objects, usually to do something like unscrew bolts or press buttons on a vending machine, for example. While you are exploring, you will also be making sure to avoid getting caught by the monster chasing you, a humanoid figure with a spotlight for a head. When you are seen by said monster, you will take damage and have to heal up using inhalers, an item that can be found. Between the monster and the spectral beings you encounter in such a creepy atmosphere, be ready to have a heart-pounding experience. Now, how about the story? How does this all come together? The story follows Vivian and her friend Amy. They sneak into their school at night in order to conduct a seance. However, Amy being inexperienced with the supernatural, things take a turn for the worse, and both of you are transported into the past, 1991 to be exact. It is in this year that there was a devastating fire at the school, which explains why the spotlight monster brings fire in its wake. Now Vivian must find Amy and a way to return to her time before succumbing to the horrors of the past. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
Did we take a time machine back to 1995? Because, I've seen so many games do this whole PlayStation 1 aesthetic, and hey, you know what? I will say this one did a very good job with it. But I know you, Chris, are someone that can be a little off-put by low-quality graphics. So what did you think of this whole experience?
Yeah, Henrik, when Blumhouse Studios announced they were jumping into the video game world with the new division in 2024, I half expected, ghost hunting, a virtual purge, or maybe prank calling from the black phone. But after playing Fear the Spotlight, it's safe to say, let's keep that spotlight off for a while because it just might reveal some rough edges. I mean, this is a classic lesson. Just because you're a horror powerhouse on the big screen doesn't mean you'll knock it out of the park with gaming. I mean, it's kind of like, what's that? Oh, yeah. Borderlands, the movie, showed us. Because not all games are ready for Hollywood close-ups.
That's a low blow right there.
I'm just saying, sometimes they're better off staying pixels.
So you wouldn't want to see like a movie adaptation of this game made by Blumhouse?
Well,
themselves?
With their very first installment, absolutely not. I was actually very disappointed. If you're looking for a cozy Halloween game, then maybe Fear the Spotlight is for you, right?
You think this is cozy?
Absolutely cozy. There was like no fear factor involved. I mean, it just was like fewer polygons and scares. If you know what I'm saying. You nailed it out of the park. It really does give you that kind of PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 vibes. I know that Blumhouse Studios, we've covered it in the past, literally last year, where they were going to be like, hey, we know that we're like a AAA in the cinematic world when it comes to horror movies in the modern era, but like we're gonna go for this indie approach. I just feel like that's such a cop-out for just releasing shitty games now. I mean, I was really expecting way like something on the horror end, especially when you got someone that is running around with no head, but a spotlight, kind of giving me the reminiscence of Pyramid Head. You would think that, it would be a little bit more of a fear factor going involved. I just really didn't kind of get that kind of sense. And like, I'm actually kind of shocked that you're questioning me about this game, because aren't you the one that gets sick and tired of having to read about lore and like how none of this correlated with any of the two main characters, Vivian and Amy? I just didn't see how they connected to that high school other than just breaking in, sneaking into the library, playing on a Ouija board, and then things all go to hell.
Well, I am the horror fan between you and I. I'd say I'm
That's true.
The bigger horror fan. And I'll say, not most games don't really scare me. This one definitely did not scare me either. It didn't have that same kind of like anxiety when you're playing the game that I'm looking for in a horror game where, like I wasn't feeling a threat from this spotlight monster really. I like the idea of it, but it's just like the execution of it just wasn't entirely there to make it really scary,
Yeah, I
kind of just felt like it was a little goofy almost. And, in some respect, the low quality graphics can help that.
Yeah,
because
true.
you know it helps that like analog, almost analog horror type of feel come into play. But at the same time, when you're looking at some of these shots of the monster and you just see that it looks kind of goofy, it just doesn't kind of help. You know,
Yeah.
the whole anxiety that you're
Well,
expecting to feel from being chased by it.
you just can't call this game a survival horror. If anything, it's survival because there's nothing scary about turning knobs or pulling levers or like, reconnecting
Yeah.
VHS cassette so I can actually watch
And
something. On the
granted, a lot of
projector.
games in the genre, that is essentially what the gameplay is like you're just hiding from monsters and doing puzzles.
Shall I
But-
do it again, though? Shall I do it again? Because I know a lot of people were attacking me and you, for our last week's take on when it came to the Silent Hill remake, and everybody's like, I can't believe you compared it with a little bit of Resident Evil 4 remake, and then people took,
I mean,
the
are
little
we
short reel out
really
of
wrong
context.
though? I mean, that game and this game too.
Absolutely
they're
not.
kind of like same kind of genre, and the genre just has certain tropes to it that they fall into, and I'd
But
say
doesn't this
some do
feel
it
like
better
a
than
knockoff?
others.
They try to go for the Silent Hill old school like graphics with Resident Evil puzzles, okay? Yeah, there. I went there, okay? But like the connection between Vivian and Amy is solid. I thought that was really good. But the backstory, like the haunting of the school, feels like it just wandered from another game. Like I just kind of kept asking myself,
and that's
Henry.
the thing too. It's like a lot of the Blumhouse horror films are also campy, like this one, but I feel like you lose a little bit of that magic that you can deliver in a horror film.
Yeah.
In a game format like this, whether
it's incredibly short. Incredibly short.
Very long game, so
No, not at all. I mean, you could beat this thing in like under 2 hours. Like it's the length of a horror movie, which that to me I felt like was very problematic. And they're really banking on replayability because they have new puzzles and secrets the second time around. But I just didn't feel scared enough by the spotlight to dive back in. And how about that ending? I mean, to not try to spoil anything, it's about as original as a campfire ghost story. I mean, it was super cliche. Yeah,
ending for sure. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. Cliches can be fun, but if you're expecting something to be unique and different from this, especially when this is something that Blumhouse is trying to say, hey, this is our way to break into the gaming industry. You kind of got to deliver a unique experience to gamers nowadays, and this is not really something that's very unique.
Yeah, like, I mean, I would have completely retitled this game instead of calling it Fear the Spotlight. Might be better named as Mildly Confused by the Spotlight. I mean, I understand that he is the real star. He looks like this zombified human with like a little spotlight on top of his head. He's burning the floor as he's trying to hunt you down. I mean, I understand that. You also got these like weird looking humanoid looking dudes that have like these glowing white eyes that are kind of like lurking in the background, trying to create that like ambiance as you start to approach like dark areas in the game, which is really cool. I mean, it was really geared towards those 90 kids, right? Like just like how you nailed it. I just don't see how it would invite everyone. Maybe this is a game for like newcomers that are like don't want to get right into Alien Isolation, because yes, that's a pretty scary freaking game, and you want to kind of cozy your way in for the spooky season. Yeah, this game might be for you, but like I don't know. It's just like, to me, it's just like this really fell flat. I was very disappointed. I know that they have a larger lineup, to be released later on under Blumhouse Studios' new gaming division. So I'm anticipating much more, but I was really excited for this game. And I don't know. No.
Well, I mean, you would expect that Blumhouse would do something big because they have such a big name in the horror franchise that they own. Like they did Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie, which I know you didn't like.
And I don't even want to see them touch. I don't even let them touch it right now. I don't even want to see their adaptation of a video game for that game because the movie sucked. And I can't rely on them with even Fear the Spotlight that they would even make a different adaptation.
We'll have to see what else they come out with and see if it's any better. But they didn't really start on the greatest notes.
Not on the greatest note. And maybe that was entirely on purpose. Maybe they felt the pressure to try to release something just in time for the Halloween season. Who freaking knows? I mean, sometimes you get horror movies that drop during Christmas time. Maybe that would have been the right call. Sometimes we were making fun of Scream, right? When they dropped in March. Maybe that was the right call. If you're not ready, you're not ready. People still loved it and revered it once it came out a little bit late. Maybe they should have approached that a little bit better. I don't know. The story just didn't really stick with me. I think it's a flat pause. It's not even really worth trying it over again. But I mean, if it does show up on like a streaming service and you're like entirely bored, you feel like you've played every single kind of horror game, jump in. You should see like where Bloomhouse Studios is going. But for that, it's a pause for me. What do you say, Henrik?
Yeah, I agree. It's a pause for me as well. And I do think it's the same sort of thing for me, where if it shows up on some streaming service that you own already, or some bundle deal is out there that it makes it really worth it to grab it, then go ahead, because it's not going to be the worst game out there, but definitely not a game that you're going to hop in and expect the world and then want to play it all over again.
We've played so many fantastic indie studio games that it just really highlights, like, there are some really crafted developers and publishers out there that really highly deserve the respect. And trust me, I mean, the people, I know they're going to do a lot better. They need to do a lot better. Or this kind of
they
venture,
have the money to do so you'd expect that they would. True,
but I just don't with how fast and layoffs go within the industry, if this keeps going, I don't see this gaming division going any much further. Yeah, that's a bold take, but I said it all right. But hey, what are you going with? What's your verdict, Henrik?
Yeah, it's a pause.
It's a pause. So you heard it both from us, but we got so much more left here on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. So are you ready to rock and roll, Henrik the Wreck?
Absolutely. It's time to rage. So let's rage.
Hey, man, we got so much to discuss. Let's get it. What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host Henrik the Wreck and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it. MTX usually means microtransactions, where you can buy a few digital goodies for under $10. No sweat, right? But leave it to Blizzard to redefine MTX as macro transactions with their new World of Warcraft mount, that Gilded Brutosaurus, or
Gilded Brutosaur.
Oh, excuse me, Henrik. I butchered it. That's
covered in gold.
Covered in gold.
You won't be when you use this money.
Yeah, you ain't lying. But for a cool $90, yeah, just $90, you're not just getting a virtual dino. You're practically buying a mount that is the same price as a deluxe edition of a AAA game. So gamers reacted to the news with the following. So let's go ahead and start diving into those comments, because yes, there were a lot of people that had something to say about this. First one said, people keep buying it. And someone followed up by saying, yep, that's all it is. Blizzard would be fools to not take advantage of all the people that keep buying these mounts and pets. So what do you make of this, Henrik?
Well, the unfortunate thing is that some people see their value to it, and they're the ones really feeding the beast in a sense, because, I'm sure we'll eventually see more things like this from them. And even within the same company, just in the Chinese division of World of Warcraft, they released a mount that is a callback or a throwback to an older mount. It's just the flying version of the Spectral Tiger. And it's like $220, I think, after conversion.
Holy.
So, yeah.
Are you kidding me?
It's coming. Macro transactions, as you said, are coming.
like how they're highlighting, even with this $90 package or whatever you want to call it nowadays, you can only buy it by, I think it was January 25th, 2025. So there is this, ordeal going around where it's like, if you don't buy it now, it's gone forever. And people kind of feel like it's only going to go up in value as time goes by. To clear it up, the auction houses ran out because people are buying this mount with an in-game currency through tokens. You spend gold on tokens other people bought with dollar bills, and then convert tokens into Blizzard store credit for the mount. So they are trying to utilize both assets into trying to get gamers involved into purchasing this mount. The next one that we got here is, correct me if my math is wrong. The tokens cost $20 each and are purchased by players and resold for gold. The actual BNet balance is only $15. So in order to get the $90 mount, they're having to buy 7 tokens, 6 of them for $90, and then 1 more to cover the taxes. So in essence, the mount costs $90, but if you bought it through tokens, Blizzard's actually getting $140. That seems crazy, but cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money, dollar bill, y'all. So when you see that, you just go, way to throw things way out of proportion, Blizzard. I mean, it kind of makes me infuriated because it's like people wonder why, or they start this narrative like, why do gaming suck nowadays? Well, we keep supporting the things that are so shitty about live stream video games.
We got Zachary in the chat saying WoW is a cash cow. I don't blame them, but come on, y'all.
Yeah,
no, really, like $140 just to buy it if you're doing tokens is a lot.
Yeah, it's not the first time they did that. Remember with Diablo 4 as well? You know, it's something that they've definitely explored with. But let's go ahead and read this comment. It says, guess all that rage for a pay-to-win mount with actual advantage is going out the window when they make a ton of money over it. As someone who doesn't play WoW, what makes it pay to win? And so, you know, it's funny that, you know, there's people out there that literally think about this. I even think about my little brother. My little brother was so mad at the time when Fortnite announced that they were going to be bringing back old cosmetics that were supposedly quote unquote bunny ears gone forever, because he felt like if he didn't want to play Fortnite anymore, he could sell his account and make money. Is this how we're viewing games now, as an investment, Henrik?
Yeah, in a sense, but I think technically most games don't allow you to purchase other people's accounts. So
yeah,
you're then delving into the black market of the gaming side. And to clarify how this mount is pay to win, in a sense, the mount has an auction house and a mailbox on it, so you can access both of them before having to go to a town or a capital city. And I've even seen a clip. This, you know, granted, is not very practical, but I saw a clip. Someone was playing arenas, which is the PvP. Like you can do 1v1, 2v2, or I think 3v3 matches against other people. And they're in the arena match, and they're like, "Oh wait, I don't have any bandages. Oh wait, I have this mount. I can stun my opponent, mount up, look on the auction house, buy a bandage, pick it up in the mail on the same mount." And then boom, I have my bandage.
Doesn't that just defeat like the whole love of like what World of Warcraft is trying to create? I mean, when you're making it that easy, like why? But then you also give people like this gentleman or lady, we don't know who you are behind that username, just fix. But anyways, vote with your wallets is said often when it comes to stuff like this appearing in games. Maybe the severe monetization of games is the fall of gamers. Companies keep making money off this shit, so why not keep adding it? So true. I mean, who's going to stop them? And, you know, I don't blame them, because a lot of the times the money that they're making from these DLCs, these in-game items, you name it, basically funds the next project. So that's pretty where much, that dollar is going. But for some reason, I and my entire department definitely needed to be laid off from Blizzard back in January because ... reasons. The sales from this one mount could have funded our entire department budget for decades. So, you know, yeah, big time for sure. So, Henrik, at what point did microtransactions go from pocket change to pocket raids? And when did just one more purchase turn to, man, I better refinance that house to get that mount? I mean, what are we doing?
You know, that statement's actually grounded in some reality because, you know, like you were saying, the mount is only for a limited time. And a lot of the times, these big microtransactions or macro transactions, if you want to call them that, they aren't on the store for forever. They're there for a limited amount of time, and it's crafted that way to keep you feeling like you're missing something if you don't get it. And so there's definitely people out there that, you know, can't necessarily afford it, but are finding some way to buy it, whether it be they use their credit card or whatever else. They borrow money from some person, whatever, you know. And that's not great to see, especially when
but that's the thing that
it's
Epic
just an in-game item.
Yeah, but that's the thing that Epic and even, you know, Blizzard has nailed so good in, you're onto it. It's FOMO. It's the fear of missing out, you know, sprinkled on top. You can only purchase the mount until January 6th, 2025. So at some point, you start to wonder, though, with like, you have to ask, like, when did this start? From where did this all start snowballing? And I had to do some deep dive on this, Henrik, because I was really like wondering, like, I thought this was something that maybe happened like 5 years ago that started to ramp up. Yeah, Bethesda back in 2006 were the first people that sold a set, what was called horse armor in Elden Scrolls 4 Oblivion, for $2.50 back in the day, by the way. So from $2.50 all the way to $90, that's where we have gone. Wow, inflation in video games. Would have never saw it coming. And it was meant to be a DLC, and it was the first ever official microtransaction in video games. And that didn't stop critics from lambasting, the horse armor and making fun of Bethesda for selling cosmetic in a single-player game. Now, what Bethesda first started as what was being laughed upon, everybody's going, thank you, because we would have never saw it coming when it came to multiplayer games, right? And so it just only excelled even to a further extent, and it's just incredible to see that, again, just like how that last comment is, whether that person actually worked in a Blizzard department or not, but it's so freaking true. The money that these people are making from microtransactions are literally funding their next project. So there's a lot of pros on their end, but a lot of cons, it feels like, in the end altogether, because what are we doing? And it also kind of makes me laugh too, because, we just saw Ubisoft kind of quietly drop a new NFT game this morning too as well. So it seems like more and more people seem to feel like that might be the next focus, which is sad. And we'll have to see whether, single player games can excel away from MTX. We'll have to see what happens there. Clearly, they felt like they didn't want to do a season pass. So it sounds like they want to go towards that NFT route. We'll see what's good. Clearly, there's no pay to win advantage. So I don't know what the hell anybody would want to pay for this other than feeling like they can make some profit off this.
It's a flex in the game. You're like, hey, yeah, I got the mount. You didn't get it? Oh, that's a disappointment.
Yes.
I'm better than you.
So are you one of those kind of people that buy in-game items, and why? We would love to know from you, gamers. Let us know what's good. So, Henrik, break it down. This topic, man, it was quite popping off over the weekend.
Yeah, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 hit the ground running, even if it tripped a little bit on Steam with mixed reviews. Yet, with an 85 on OpenCritic and 100% critic approval, it not only broke internet records with BT in the UK, but apparently put the entire country's Wi-Fi on a chokehold.
That was pretty funny and wild. Yeah, BT is an internet company over there. Like, people were literally choking up the whole country.
Yeah, just because they're downloading the game.
Wild.
And
who would have thought?
Get this. On Steam, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 launched with over 60% more players than Modern Warfare 3, proving that even an enormous download file can't keep diehard fans away, because it is close to 100 gigs just for the game. Which,
and then you have to download the headquarter.
Yeah, and granted, it's sounding like less and less as time goes by and storage becomes more accessible, but it's still 90 gigs. It's still a lot. And that's not including if you want to download Warzone to go with it. Then you're looking at 150.
Well, I know you're not a sports fan, but if you have Madden, NBA 2K, PGA and EAFC, you're screwed. You're like, man, I want to play the new Call of Duty, but which sport game's getting dropped first? Is it MLB? No, it can't be MLB because I'm in the middle of the World Series, damn it. I got to play as these squads. So yes, you're right. As a gamer, life's tough with these download sizes.
But of course, gamers reacted to the latest installment in the Call of Duty franchise with the following comment.
Oh, yes, they did. Let's get into the first comment. No, that's Warzone plus Modern Warfare 3 plus Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 6. But the numbers should still be good due to Game Pass on PC being $12. Actually, isn't it supposed to be $25? You got to get the ultimate PC and console route. Remember, because they ramped it up at the last second. So that's actually an incorrect statement, but there could be some truth to that. Some people have been saying that, you have to download the Call of Duty HQ. So, you might not be necessarily playing Black Ops 6. You could be in Warzone, and do those numbers carry over? Yeah, some people have been kind of questioning that. I feel like this could be misleading because it's the same launcher / app in Steam. See, that's kind of where I was going. Black Ops 6 and Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone, right? So basically that would take into account all of those combined. True, but you've also got to look at it was before Black Ops 6 came out. So, okay. So they're saying, look at the numbers then, look at the numbers now. And that's a true point. You know, the numbers significantly increased, you know, the day the game was released.
Yeah.
This game's good, not surprised. Call of Duty's definitely back. So, okay, so, you know, we did share that Flight was having quite the hard time, you know, figuring out Black Ops 6. But clearly some people feel like, I'm starting to love this game all over again because, you know, there's quite some people hated on the last two IPs, you know, in recent years or recent memory. And impressive considering they're also on Game Pass now because, you know, you can get the Xbox Game Pass. These numbers don't correlate into the Steam chart.
Yeah, we don't know how many people are playing it specifically through there or even through the Battle.net launcher because that's a different launcher on PC as well. And not even to mention console too. That's another place.
Yeah, right. So like this is a fantastic results for Microsoft and the Xbox company. And Game Pass players are not counted on Steam charts. This is directed towards those in the comments saying these are Game Pass players. And you say since 2022, that's like been forever, but it's literally just one game and then one person goes, nah, it's actually two. So
yeah,
I mean, people looking out for each other. And with the launch of Black Ops 6, nearly 50% of all active Xbox Series players in the US played Call of Duty last week, double the week before. And on PS5, over 33% of all active US PS5 players played Call of Duty last week, up 30% week over week. So, you know, massive start for a game that's worth 70 freaking banaroos. And so, Henrik, did Call of Duty Black Ops 6 really rack up all those numbers, or are the numbers truly manipulated as some gamers are suggesting? And will those numbers hold up through the holiday season, or gamers scatter like roaches when the lights come on?
I don't think that they're entirely manipulated. I mean, I do know there's a lot of people that have been praising the game, not even just the campaign or the multiplayer, but the fact that round-based zombies are back. Like, there's so many people I know from work or just friends in general that have been hyped of the game, not even because of the multiplayer like you would expect, but because of the zombies mode. And that's really what they're playing more than anything else. Is
I was amazed to see so many people dropping all those Easter eggs within like less than 24 hours. I'm like, how the hell do people do this stuff?
That shows you how wild the fan base that plays the zombies modes are, because how can you figure those out? And so,
or maybe Call of Duty's just not getting creative. Maybe Call of Duty's just not getting creative enough. I mean, I did see the one video where you got to get the bullet shoes.
When the Easter eggs are like, oh, you got to go here, dig this spot, and then you go over here, shoot this little thing that's in the wall, and then go get this perk, and then punch the wall. It's like, how do you figure that out?
Or I've seen the one where they have to collect bowling shoes, you know, but like sometimes that was kind of cliche because it's like, obviously you got to build up the barricade so like the zombies don't keep crawling through the window. So like, of course, look in the room that you can't access, and you know, maybe they need to get a little bit more creative. People are starting to catch on to that old school Easter egg approach. But again, that's not something my expertise would ever be able to find out. It just feels like it's that way because when the people are finding within less than 24 hours, that is crazy. But out of all the Call of Duty games, Steam data is tracked through a single listing rather than individual games like the other game series. So there is a bit of like, you know, people kind of wondering how that really would be. I know that Modern Warfare 3 launched on Call of Duty on Steam that peaked at about 190,000 players. So when Black Ops 6 launched this weekend, the Call of Duty launcher had a maximum of about 306,000 players online. So that's about a 61% increase. That is so freaking insane. And I know you had your chance to jump into Black Ops 6. I haven't had the opportunity so far. What is its biggest strong suit? Is it the campaign mode, which I've been hearing a lot of people have been saying it's very diverse, it's you know, better focused, driven on the story aspect, or is it the zombies, or is multiplayer? What's the sleeper?
I believe if you're going to look at the sleeper, probably it is going to be zombies, because that's what everyone's so expecting to be, you know, the thing that they play the most. And from what I've seen, what people are playing really is that. But I will say that campaign is actually really good. I just finished it a couple days ago.
Because most people skip it.
You know, yeah, a lot of people do skip it. But this campaign, it actually got really interesting, and what they did with some of the missions was also just creative. And I appreciate that because I feel like the last couple games, they didn't really get that creative. The last one, they tried a little bit, but it didn't really.
I've heard it's got a bit of that like
much.
007 Wolfenstein kind
A little
of
bit,
stealth
yeah,
combat that's going
I definitely
in.
was really feeling the new Wolfenstein game inspiration in this campaign, even down to the fact of there being a safe
Instead of
house
the
to go
spray
back
and
to.
shoot kind of approach, you know, because that's always a little too easy to do. And we're already experiencing that with zombies and multiplayer anyways, because I've been hearing the complaints with a lot of these multiplayer maps that they're just a little bit, you know, too tight. And it's just like, it's just you drop in, die, and you know, so you're gonna have to try to spread out the map a little bit more.
I've had a little bit of the different experience on some modes where I run around for like a minute and then all of a sudden there's someone finally. Yeah, it's just like everyone's spawning on the other side for some reason. But I feel like that's an issue that's constantly being talked about. Is just the spawn issue of like either you spawn in and there's no one by you for a minute, or you spawn in and you die immediately because someone already was aimed on that position.
Yeah. That's just a great point. And I know this had an incredible launch. It didn't quite have the numbers like when Warzone first got introduced. That on Steam had an all-time peak of about 488,000 players. I mean, come on, obviously, because they were trying to be the next competitor in the battle royale space. Basically telling Battlefield hasta la vista. Does anyone remember them having a Battlefield? It was like Warzone came in and they got ousted out. Then PUBG was like, where's PUBG? Fortnite obviously stayed around. But when you got lofty numbers like that, you know, clearly, you know, it didn't reach the heights that, you know, Warzone got, but Microsoft is likely very, very pleased with the numbers that they're receiving with Black Ops 6, especially considering how Microsoft, the company, had a very tough year with sweeping layoffs, despite its CEO getting $30 million pay raise, by the way, and heavily criticized. Yeah, right. And a heavily criticized Xbox Game Pass changes. And so, you know, they are anticipating this one game alone could drive as many as 4 million new Xbox Pass game subscribers to this, you know, new plateau, which is cloud gaming. So will it sustain that momentum? We are asking you, the gamers. Let us know what's good. But hey, are you ready to move on to the next topic of conversation?
Yeah. Go ahead and tell us what's going on in Fortnite, Chris.
Yeah, let's get right on into it, because in a last-ditch effort to win over voters, Vice President Harris is taking her campaign to the virtual battlefield by launching her own Fortnite map, Freedom Town, USA. It's packed with their campaign promises like tax breaks for small businesses and affordable housing, because who would have thought that campaigning for the White House could involve crafting digital utopias and dodging rivals like they're just another bunch of players trying to steal your loot. I mean, I had a lot of hard time running around that map, Henrik. I wanted a car, and then someone would steal my car, and then I got to go run on foot just to find another car. What are you doing? I thought they said they banned the guns, but they didn't ban the GTA aspect. My God, Grand Theft. Man, oh man. But if anybody hasn't seen like just a glimpse of what the gameplay is like with this new game mode, we're going to show you guys a closer look.
I mean, it looks like it could be fun, right? But clearly some people have some stuff to say about it, right, Chris?
Yeah, let's go right on into the comments, because the first one says, keep politics out of gaming. Shame on Fortnite. Yeah, you know, a lot of people weren't pleased that the Harris campaign did this, but, you know, this is not the first time that, you know, political candidates have explored, you know, getting their message across in gaming. You know, the very first one that I can think of, Henrik, is Pokemon Go. Hillary Clinton started a poll inside Pokemon Go, which really pissed off a lot of gamers at the time. And then do you remember President Joe Biden was in Animal Crossing, which felt very random and a bit out of place. Kind of, you know, as I can, it feels a little bit. I kind of feel that same way as well.
It feels like you're just trying to appeal to a demographic that doesn't care about you.
Yeah, because clearly there's a gamer here that says Republican Party, no. Democrat Party, no. Mario Party, yes, you have my vote. And we also have the majority of the player base can't even vote. You know, we looked into this because that is always the biggest knock on Fortnite. Yes, that is the number one thing. You know, like as we were teasing at the top of the show, why do you keep sucking ass when you're buying all these 2K My Team packs, right? You know, or it's like, hey, why are you getting your butt kicked by that 12-year-old, girl or gal or dude, on the other end of the internet LAN cable? Well, 60% of the player base on Fortnite, believe it or not, is 18 to 24 years old. And so the Harris campaign did come out and say that they were trying to appeal to the young male gamer voting voice. So that was kind of interesting.
Though, as a side note to that, that could include potentially kids not of the age of 18 pretending to be over the age of 18, because that happens too.
Oh, so currently right now, you must be like 58 years old, Henrik, because, I don't know if if you don't know what we're joking
Depends
about.
on what service you look at.
Yeah, it's like, you ever be like 21 years old? I mean, 20, you ever be like 21? What are you talking about? I'm 31 already right now. But anyways, like you're 31 and you go on Steam and then they go, hey, you need to be 18 years old to watch this gameplay trailer. I just scroll and say I'm from 1895. All right, damn it, I don't even care. January 1st, 1895, and then you get in, just like how you're kind of joking about. Do people even tell their age? Or maybe they're playing on their mommy or daddy's account. But campaigning in a battle royale is not helping her beat the warmonger allegations. That is so freaking stupid. Like, really, dude? So every single person that's playing Fortnite is a war criminal. So what do we call people that play PUBG? What do we call people that play Battlefield? What do we call people that play Call of Duty Black Ops 6? That is the silliest shit that I've ever heard in my life. Like, really, dude? Like, come on, man. And then, how do you fellow kids doing?
Yeah, this is exactly what the politicians are like right now.
Yeah,
which things like that.
I think that's fair, to point out. It's like, I get it, and, you could make the argument too, like, why a week out from the election? Maybe this would have worked better if it was a month out or 2 months out. And it was really hard to even find this map, and maybe this has something to do with it. Quote, whether commercial content or not, your island and your island's metadata must not include A, calls to action outside Fortnite, B, solicitation to join, participate in, or donate to a real-world religion, political organization, or military organization, end quote. That is Fortnite's terms of service. So her map shouldn't be allowed. So yeah, other creators get slammed for, doing essentially what the Harris campaign did, essentially they hire somebody to create this game. I'm sure she didn't have a, a creative piece into it. Other than
it wasn't her going in there and actually making it.
I have to break it to you. No, she was worried about, issues, happening across the country. And, she's going to have to see what happens, next week. But Henrik, is Harris gearing up to win over the youth vote by turning the campaign trail into a battle royale? Because according to Statista, again, over 62% of Fortnite players aged 18 to 24 are on this platform. Or so is she just a few emotes away from securing a solid voter base, or is she going to need a victory dance to seal the deal?
Yeah, I don't think this is the way to garner votes from the demographic of 18 to 24. Instead, here's something that will. Do something that actually matters to them. Like, hey, what about student loans? I know that's a big topic for some people, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't have to be that, but that's just an example, like.
So you felt like maybe the message was kind of missed a little bit, because I did feel the same way as well. I thought and when you do play the game mode, a lot of the messages are about maybe like 2 sentences. So if you just read the article about the announcement of the gameplay, you already got the message.
Yeah,
you didn't need to play the
point
game.
Of even going in.
Yeah, you don't hear about you'll hear messages that go, hey, did you know that Harris built 3 million new homes? Okay, cool. Hey, did you know that they're going to get tax breaks on first-time home buyers? 25,000. Yay! But then again, it's
and
like
do you really
that's
think
the
that
joke
18
between
to 24-year-olds are actually buying
You
houses?
can buy a house right now. That's kind of like the joke, and so it doesn't really resonate with that age demographic, and I can see where you're going with that. But then again, you also got a vice presidential candidate, Governor Tim Walz, that played Madden NFL and Crazy Taxi with Representative AOC, and a number of different advertising efforts across mobile games, sports, betting platforms, and YouTube channels. And so whether this approach was right or wrong, that's really up to you guys. All I could tell you is when I jumped onto it this morning, I only saw a player base of 236 gamers that were on it. And I had a really, really hard time actually finding the game inside of it. Like, let's put it this way. At the same time the Harris campaign announced this Fortnite map, ESPN actually made their own map as well. That was called, I believe it's called End Zone. It's like a NFL kind of a style map push. It's, oh gosh, it's kind of like Rush. You're trying to control who can get to the end, protect your end zone. So you're trying to move this circle. It's almost like Fall Guys. You're trying to get in the light. You're trying to push that light further. That had about 2,000 players in it, right? So a game that's garnishing over, millions of players every day, with ESPN under that one post had over 300,000 likes. They had a hard time even garnishing 10,000 gamers. So the point that I'm trying to make here is there's a lot of game modes out there. And when you make it boring, dumbed down, no shooting, obviously, that's not what they're trying to advocate. You can't even dance in it. You can't even emote. You can't even speak to another person on, that game mode. It just feels like the message hits kind of slumped. But what I will say on a gamer note, though, if you want to ramp up like 3 different levels high, you are going to love that map. Oh my gosh.
Pro tip
especially when you're
from Chris Collins himself.
Pro Chris Collins tip, with Fortnite universe. When you're going down that last guardrail, when you're going to go and see the big hoorah towards the end of the game mode, keep riding that guardrail. Keep riding it back. You're going to garnish like another 10 XP every single time. It worked about 4 times until it kind of locked me out, but I was really amazed. So thank you, Harris campaign, for the level increase. Other than that, I'm kind of with you, Henrik. I just feel like there's really not the best approach. We're already getting to just slam with enough political ads even during the World Series games and on our TVs, our phones, nonstop. So I think by now people have kind of know who they're going to be voting for.
Also, I feel like a lot of people go to gaming to escape reality and things like that. Like having that shoved in their face days before election, for example. But I mean, that's not to say that some games don't have political stances in them, but they're not so blatantly in your face about it, I mean, like, a big argument is, well, there's games like Metal Gear Solid. That whole series has political themes all over it. So
Far Cry 6,
Yeah, or, like that. So if you're saying no politics in games, well, I hate to say it, guys, but I think some stories need to have politics in them, but I also understand what you're actually saying, which is you don't want...
I don't know if they're saying so much politics in games. They just don't want to... Yeah, they don't want to see like campaign pushes and ads, inside some of their favorite games where, we go there to escape from reality, not to be like, oh, no, not again. But to be fair, you have to actually choose to go to that map. It's not like you're being forced. There's not like some message that's blasted up on your screen.
Even where you're incentivized to go into it. Aside from that EXP that you gave a awesome tip about,
Yeah, right, exactly. But like while the Trump campaign has not made a similar targeted push to the gamer audience, the former president has commented on video games before. During his tenure in the White House, President Trump blamed violent video games for a shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. So, he has said in the past that he felt like games were shaping young people's thoughts and were publishing a reel of violent video games. He spoke on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Wolfenstein, Dead by Daylight, Sniper Elite, and Fallout 4. So maybe the Harris campaign felt like, hey, we embrace all things gaming. Who knows what they were thinking.
What's so ironic about that is I feel like it's both sides of a political spectrum that will say that video games are the problem. And this is a whole different conversation, so I won't get into it too much, but it's not, guys. It's not.
But should, will this be a lesson that we will find out will not work in the end? I mean, clearly it's not working. Newsweek even reported last night that it only garnished 400 people. I only saw 236, so it's not garnishing the base. So is it better just to focus on the campaign trail and stay out of the virtual world of gaming? Let us know what's good. But Henrik, let's go into the next topic of conversation, because we've been reporting on this at the top of the year, and now we finally have an update.
When video game scholars want to dive into the nostalgia of titles long gone, they're basically forced into a real-life quest that involves hours of driving. Because apparently, gaming history doesn't count unless you're playing it in a museum. The US Copyright Office just denied a request to let libraries lend out digital copies of those classic games. And while you can borrow a dusty old VHS playing classics remotely is still a no-go, guess we're still stuck in the digital Stone Age.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I can't help but ponder, is there more to this? Well, of course, gamers speculated on the news online with the following comments.
Oh, yes, they did, Henrik. Let's go right on into it. Oh, my God. The speculative value of product from 40 years ago. It's shriveling before the prospect of being preserved as an appreciated art form and enjoyed by people across generations instead of sitting in a crypt behind a subscription. Oh, no.
Yeah, because it's like, come on, guys. Even if you look at like the used market, the used market's not contributing anything towards the bottom line of the companies making the product. It's actually just contributing to the bottom line of the reseller.
But maybe there's a point to, instead of sitting in a crypt behind a subscription, maybe that is the main factor. Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo are figuring out ways to repurpose these old games that most Gen A won't probably play. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it happening. 40 years, for works like books, it's until the death of the author plus 70 years. Let's call it 75 years for simplicity. The original Mario was released in 1983. It will be free of copyright in 2058. Considering how much the digital landscape has changed from 1983 until today, I can only imagine how prehistoric that version of Mario must look to the people in 2058.
Yeah,
I know.
And for some games, they might not even last until the time that they're free of copyright to preserve them.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're looking at such the massive, evolution of what we're seeing in the VR space with the new Batman Arkham Shadows. I mean, yeah, you're gonna look at this and go, ew. No. People might play old games for fun. Say it ain't so. So some people do feel like it could be detrimental in 18,000 people, or they just feel like, no, yeah, like that is the main reason why we want it. Buy our remastered instead, or subscribe for a lifetime in order to play. I don't know if you saw that
This is The Last of Us in 2058.
Oh gosh, yeah, you ain't lying. You went there, Henrik. But no, that kind of made me laugh because I saw, I don't know how true it is, but there's a photo that's going around that someone purchased PlayStation Plus Premium to avoid a price increase on subscription prices for like 50 years. And
yeah, I did see that too.
I always find that troubling because they could totally rework their subscription service, and you could have paid for 50 years, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate into their next what would they phrase it? Frontier.
It might not even exist anymore at some point. And hey, you already bought that, so you're probably going to get some sort of reimbursement, I imagine. What if Sony just gets rid of the gaming service, gets rid of it for like 2 years, and then they're like, oh, look, we supply movies, music, and video games. And so then you're really screwed. And then the one person's responding back to or subscribe for a lifetime in order to play and be shit out of luck when we decide to shut this game. Yeah, it's not always just the subscription. We are seeing that with
the crew. They were dealing with that problem. And in other news, corporations are greedy. In other news, for some reason, the U.S. lets those greedy corporations decide the course of action for everyone in the country. Yay, democracy. So, Henrik is the U.S. Copyright Office's refusal to let libraries lend out digital games due to their fear that I believe cloud gaming will turn every scholar into the modern day Robin Hood of retro titles. Do you see that's where it's going? I mean, they were trying to advocate and say, hey, listen, look, we would inform and, not make it as easy for you would have to go through a process, to say that I'm using this for, study, for maybe college, whatever, so would you feel if they did open up the floodgates that it would potentially open up something that would be, detrimental to the rest of, the video game industry? Not the gamer player base, the industry.
Yeah, I don't think it would be detrimental to the industry or even really the bottom line of the companies that own the rights to the actual products. It's more so, hey, if you want to actually see what gaming used to be like, you can then see it through this service. And that's all they were going for. They, granted, some people probably would, check out some games just to see what it's like and not really for the preservation aspect. But is that not what a library is?
Right.
Read a book and then return it.
Well,
if you don't return it on time, you get charged.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point that you're mentioning that because, now you're making me think. It's like, yeah, these institutions already lend out other forms of media and even software programs. So remotely, video games are still treated differently as of today. And so that's why it's like, I ponder why they are doing this. And it only makes me feel as though these video game industry, like the community at large, not the player base, the community that makes video games possible, probably find that we're moving too fast on this and that we need to keep control of our video game IP because we are working on providing that at a larger mass under a subscription paywall. Do you feel that same way, or do you just feel like it's, the copyright office just kind of looked at it and was like, yeah, we have other things to worry about?
Well, that's the thing too. Like if you're expecting them to put it on some subscription service, they're not going to put everything on there. Or if they do put it on there, it's going to be on a rotation maybe even. So it might be there 1 month and it might not be there the next month. So is that really preserving titles at that point? I wouldn't say so, because it's more so creating artificial scarcity once again of, hey, you could access it this 1 month, but then the other month, hey, you know what, we think you don't want to access that. We want you to play other things. At that point, you're not giving the same service that the library was giving, where, someone might have checked out what you're wanting to check out, but it'll eventually come back and it will never go away because it's just there for preservation.
But to play devil's advocate, opponents, most prominently the Entertainment Software Association, which represents video game publishers, argued that people would take advantage of the libraries to play the games for free, that they would damage the market for classic video games, and that, they wouldn't appropriately be tailored to the restrictions to ensure that the uses would be limited to teaching, research, or scholarship uses. And so that's
once again, is that not what a book library does? Also, I mean, book libraries, they offer more than just books nowadays. They offer, like you said, software. You can rent movies from them. And does that hurt the bottom line of, say, like the movie industry? I don't think so very much. It's not like a huge detriment to the industry.
Well, they clearly feel like there's some kind of value with classic games, like the 80s games. But I know Kendra Albert, who made the argument on behalf of the Software Preservation Network and the Library Copyright Alliance, says that they weren't asking for a lot. This is her quote. It was the thing that basically exists for all kinds of special collections in libraries. The library reviews the request, makes sure it's not harmful, and then allows access to the work, end quote. So who's lying? Is the ESA lying, or are the people that are looking to bring video games to the masses, on the digital format instead of having to drive to your local library, or even sometimes having to cross state line just to be able to access some of these games because they're not available at every freaking library. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you start to wonder.
It could be too that the Copyright Office is run by people who don't entirely understand the industry because they don't partake in it, maybe. And so both sides had to give their argument to fully explain the industry as well and how it works, which at that point, who's going to have better pull is going to be the actual ESA, because they're the ones who are, fighting for this as on behalf of the companies in the industry, right? So
right. And they could have easily done a trial and error run if they wanted to, but maybe they felt like they couldn't, because if the Copyright Office had granted the request, it wouldn't have been a permanent change. People need to understand that, because every 3 years, groups get a chance to lobby the Library of Congress for a very specific exemption to the Section 1201 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And those exemptions have to be renewed every 3 years. So clearly the U.S. Copyright Office felt like, no, we are not giving it a chance. Maybe those 3 years alone would bring a lot of those games. Like, I mean, I can't even remember the numbers right now. I remember we were talking about it at the top of the year, but like they say almost 80% of those old games are not even accessible today. And so maybe that's why they're scared, that maybe just 3 years alone would be enough time to be able to bring back those games to the public for free. And who knows whether, I'm just thinking about Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. There could be others out there, Atari, you name it, Sega, Capcom,
then again, just to bring up the last point to this whole argument is the Internet Archive is in a lawsuit right now with a bunch of book publishers and book companies, because during the pandemic, they were offering books as a library checkout thing, a service like that, like what they're expecting to be possible with this. And because of that, they did that as a like, hey, we understand people can't necessarily go to the library physically right now because there's restrictions to where you can go physically. So let's give people access to books through the internet, because that's possible to do. And what happened? Well, they got stuck in a lawsuit as a result of that. So maybe the copyright laws need to be updated. And that's something that really, when it boils down to, I think does have to happen, because a lot of them are really outdated at this point and haven't kept up with the times.
And I think, again, the question that we're asking all of you gamers, because I'm not going to pretend and try to finesse you like I know the answers, but I just can't help but just wonder, like, is there more to this? Is this like the next step to advance cloud gaming? That's kind of where my mind's going. But if there's something that we're not thinking about, join the conversation. Let us know what's good. But man, we've had such a great time with everybody joining us for Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, and we can't thank you, the gamers, for always joining us live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because without your guys' support, this show would not be possible. So go ahead and scan the QR code, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss a live show.
Yeah, and go ahead and scan that QR code right there. You'll go to my YouTube channel and go join the conversation. We'll talk about memes, games, anything you like in the comments. Go and flame me even if you'd like. I'll respond.
Yeah, go ahead and roast them right now. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. But hey, enjoy yourself. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay up all night. Play those video games. Forget about homework. No, I'm just kidding. Homework first. But we will see you next week, fam. Peace.
See ya.